So we're gonna start the tutorial. So I divide the tutorial in two parts, a really simple one and then a more complex one. And so the simple one is just we're gonna create a volume and put a sphere inside. And I'm gonna put 10, 20, 30, 100 and see how it goes. And that's the first step. So
the first one is the creation of the volume.
So
And the second one is
the first tutorial is we're going to have a bounding box and one ingredient that is a sphere, and we're going to distribute it in the volume. The second one is we're going to add a compartment, which is going to be a simple sphere, and then we're going to create two ingredients based on proteins, and one is going to be at the surface and one is going to be inside. And so it's the first part, to build a simple recipe. And we're gonna go slowly. I'm gonna clear my scene a little. All right.
which tutorial is it on the tutorial page? Is it the customized one?
So it's called document tutorial Blender tutorial Lite. And then after the installation, after checking you have the blood plasma, there is a table of content, and we can jump on build a simple recipe. That's fair.
How long is it scene?
You can do like file, new, and he's gonna do a reload startup file. But I would do that like after I. Yeah, okay, yeah. Anyway, so it says start Blender. Okay. It says delete the starting cube. Oh, I already did it. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna second. So we have this cube. So I can either select an object in the outliner on the upper right, or I can select object on the Mac by using the right button and clicking on the object. So that's how you select. And when it's selected, I think you can do object delete.
Or you just press X.
Or you just press X. Now, also something important is you see that everywhere when you click with the left button, there is this little circle, that follow it. Every time I click, it pop. So, this is really important. It's actually the 3D cursor here.
So to get to that, you press the N panel, N button to get to that panel, because it's big enough for us to run.
Yeah. Or you just click on the plus button. There is like if I close it, at the top there is a small plus icon. That's where you click and it's going to appear. And then there is this panel called 3D cursor that gives you the coordinate of this little guy here. And it's important because like when the plugin or every plugin or when you use the Blender API to create object, when you create an object, they're going to appear where this little thing is. And when you're using PDB file and atomic coordinate, you don't want like random offset. So it's always good to verify that this is at the origin before doing any creation, any plugin stuff. So that being said, we can start. So I'm going to start AutoPACK. I'm simply pushing the button AutoPACK up there. And what's going to do is it's going to add a new tab on the left. And it's called MISC because it's not something that is dedicated to Blender. So we have some registration. You can just close it, or it's not important for now. And then we have the main AutoPACK plugin. And so quickly, we make the distinction between visualizing a model built by cellPACK and building the model. And so when you have a recipe, usually it can be associated with a result file. And so you just want to look at the model. You don't want to have all the options, all the packing options. That's why we created this view panel. And then we have the pack panel, which is the one that's going to actually build the model. And we're actually not going to use either. What we're going to use is the utility. So since your guys are not expert, and it can be really difficult to generate your own recipe. It can be tedious. We create this small tool in our plugin that's going to help you create a template. And so what we're going to do is, in this utilities panel, there is a button called Create a Custom Recipe. We can just click on that. And what it does is, if we look in the outliner, it actually prepares everything that is required to have a proper recipe. And the most important object is an object called MyRecipe setup. This is where we're going to set up everything. Basically, it is where you're going to define, I want this object, and I want it to be in this compartment or outside. All right? So that's basically here. And so the first important thing when we do the packing is to define the bounding box. This is defining the full volume that we're going to occupy with object. And so we have this object called bounding box here. So again, we can select it either by right-clicking in the 3D view, or we can just click on it in the scene outliner. And it's just a cube currently, but we can change the dimension. And so that's what I specify here. So we center it at the origin, and then we're going to make it a cube of, so it's 100 angstrom cubic. 100 angstrom, 100 angstrom, 100 angstrom. So we can just type in the dimension. Currently it's 40, but you can just type 100, 100, 100. So of course Blender is going to say meter, but because that's the unit in Blender, but our software is going to understand that 1 centimeter is 1 angstrom.